Marcus was the kind of guy who trusted. He wasn't paranoid or controlling, never the snoopy type who rifled through his girlfriend's things or double-checked every little detail. Privacy? He respected it. Thought it kept things balanced and healthy. So when he opened the laptop that day, planning to send off a quick email after work, he wasn't prepared for what he'd see. Her inbox was open. Emily's inbox. He'd planned to close it right away, assuming it was her usual cascade of work emails and group chats with her college friends. But there it was, glaring at him like a neon sign in a desert. Subject: last night was amazing, miss you. A pit opened in his stomach. He paused, and then for the first time in years, clicked. The email unfolded like a horror story in snapshots. Candlelit dinners at work functions, a mentorship with some guy named Rob who he'd only heard of last week, hotel receipts she'd claimed were business-related, and other details that slipped seamlessly into the web of lies she'd spun over the last few months. His fingers scrolled robotically, uncovering layers of deceit, one dishonest excuse after another. There it was, everything he hadn't wanted to believe, sitting in her outbox for him to read, to analyze, to absorb. He closed the laptop with a sense of finality, staring at the screen as if it could change what he'd just seen. The room was silent, save for the hum of the refrigerator, a sound that somehow seemed louder now. It took him a few minutes to breathe normally again. After all, he'd just found out his girlfriend of 3 years had a mentor who sometime was mentoring her in hotel rooms. The plans? Cancelled. He wasn't going to stew or text or call. No, he'd sit on this, wait until she got home, and ask her a few questions. Something about the finality of it, the cold, detached rage building in him, told him he was going to handle this differently than she'd ever expect. Marcus poured himself a glass of whiskey and settled in on the couch, waiting for her to walk through the door. It was a peculiar kind of patience, the kind you felt before executing a well-crafted plan. The front door creaked open, and Emily breezed in, bags of groceries swinging at her sides. She flashed her usual bright smile, completely oblivious. "Hey babe," she chirped, leaning down to plant a kiss on his cheek. He forced a smile, feeling his jaw tighten. "Hey Em." He kept his tone casual, neutral, almost friendly. "Can you come sit for a minute? I wanted to talk about something, work-related." Her eyes flickered, but she nodded and put the bags down. "Of course. What's up?" She pulled out the chair across from him, a hint of curiosity mixed with worry crossing her face. "I've been thinking about applying for a few positions outside of my company," he began, knowing she'd probably already tuned him out. "And I remembered you mentioned that your mentor, Rob, has a lot of connections in the industry." The change in her expression was immediate. Her whole face tightened, and for a split second, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Oh yeah, Rob," she stammered, the words barely escaping her mouth. "Yeah, so I figured, since you've been spending so much time with him, maybe you could help connect me. I'd love to meet him, you know, make an impression. I thought maybe I'd tag along to one of your late meetings." The color drained from her face, her hands gripping the edge of the table as if steadying herself. "I don't know if that's really a good idea. I mean, Rob's really busy. And, private. He doesn't usually, you know, mix his business with other people." He let her flounder for a moment, watching her stammer like a bad actor on stage, and then finally shrugged. "Oh sure. That's understandable. Maybe I could at least send him my resume." She looked around the room as if searching for a way out, her voice faltering. I guess? I mean, yeah, I could maybe ask him." Marcus couldn't resist. He leaned forward, his tone icy and low. "Or like I said, I could just stop by next time you're meeting up." He held her gaze, his words sharp as knives. "That'd be the most direct way to network, right?" She tried to laugh it off, but her voice was strained. "Marcus, you're acting strange. Why would you want to come to some boring work meeting?" "Oh, you're right, Emily." He leaned back, feigning nonchalance. "After all, what could a guy like me learn from a guy like Rob?" Her cheeks flushed a deep red as she stammered, "You're being ridiculous. Rob's just a friend who's been helping me navigate some work stuff." "Ah, work stuff. Right." He took a sip of his whiskey, letting the burn settle in his throat as he looked at her with cold, detached amusement. "Let's cut the act, Emily. I know about Rob. I know what your work stuff actually is. For a moment, she sat there in silence, her face ashen, the realization of her crumbling cover-up dawning on her. Marcus, I can explain. Her voice came out as a whisper, the bravado all but gone. Oh, I'm sure you can. But let's save that for later. Right now, I want you to tell me exactly how long this has been going on. He leaned in, his voice almost casual, but the words came out with the force of a sledgehammer. She fumbled, wringing her hands, her voice breaking as she tried to cobble together some feeble excuse. It happened once. No, maybe twice, It didn't mean anything, Marcus. He raised an eyebrow. Twice? Is that the count you're sticking to? It was a mistake. I don't even know why I did it. She looked down, unable to meet his gaze. I guess I was just feeling lonely. You've been working so much. Feeling lonely, he echoed. That's rich. So while I'm out working, you're off with Rob, your mentor, to fill the void. She flinched, guilt painting her face in stark lines. I'm sorry, Marcus. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Funny, he said, his tone icier than ever. That's exactly what I didn't mean for either. He let her words hang in the air, relishing the awkward silence. Marcus let Emily's rambling, half-baked apologies pour out as he leaned back, arms crossed, watching the performance with a detached sort of amusement. Her story wobbled and buckled under every feeble excuse she attempted. Finally, after watching her stammer her way through, it didn't mean anything, and I was just lost. He decided it was time to drop the real bombshells. Oh, I'm sure you were feeling lost, he said, sarcasm lacing his tone. Lost enough to fall right into Rob's bed. At least I hope you found what you were looking for there. Her face paled, but he ignored it. He was just getting warmed up. Lucky for you, I've done a bit of my own mentorship work today. Her brow furrowed in confusion. What do you mean? He motioned over his shoulder to the corner of the living room, where a neat stack of boxes sat. Her clothes, toiletries, books, all packed up and waiting for her like baggage at an airport. She stared at them, realization dawning slowly, followed by a mixture of anger and panic. Marcus, you can't just throw me out, she whispered, voice trembling. I have nowhere to go. He took a slow sip of his whiskey, savoring the warmth as he watched her struggle. I think Rob won't have some extra space, considering his wife will probably be showing him the door soon too. Her eyes widened, genuine terror now replacing the shock. You wouldn't tell Rob's wife, right? Oh, I did. And let me tell you, she was very interested in the full package of evidence. Screen-captured emails, receipts, dates. Your little affair is practically a documentary series at this point. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice to a sharp whisper. She even asked if I wanted her to help me with the packing process. So you're welcome, I handled that part myself. Emily's face went slack, mouth open as she seemed to struggle to grasp the enormity of what he just told her. Marcus, please this will ruin me. Ruin you. He chuckled, enjoying the cold rush of satisfaction at her panic. You seem to forget, you've already done that all by yourself. And as for your bags, he nodded toward the stack of boxes by the door. Let's just say I've set things up so your departure is as smooth as your lies were. Emily stepped back, her eyes fixed on the boxes, horror creeping across her face as the truth sank in. And yes, I told your parents as well, he said, smiling at her as if they were discussing her latest work project. They appreciated a little honesty about their hard-working daughter who was always putting in late hours. Turns out, they're not as proud of your career achievements as you might have thought. Her face crumpled, and she reached out toward him, desperation filling her voice. Marcus, please don't do this. We can work through this. We can fix it, I swear. He stepped back, holding up a hand. Emily, this can't be fixed. If you'd been unhappy, we could have had a conversation, worked through things. But sneaking around, humiliating me, that doesn't get a second chance. Her shoulders slumped, eyes rimmed with red, and he saw the faint glimmer of tears threatening to fall. Where am I supposed to go? Well, he said, shrugging, you might want to consider Rob. Or failing that, a hotel room. I assume you're already familiar with the check-in process. Emily stared at him, helpless, all the fight gone from her. You really won't change your mind? Change my mind? No, Emily. In fact, I'm just getting started. He gave her one last, hard look. Now get out. Either you take your things yourself, or I'll throw you out first, and then your junk after you. Your choice. She moved to the boxes, one by one picking them up and carrying them toward the door. As she did, she kept casting back these miserable glances, like maybe he'd soften, maybe this nightmare could just disappear if she blinked hard enough. But he stayed where he was, hands in his pockets, watching in silence, feeling not the slightest tug of regret. The door closed behind her, the apartment sinking into silence. Marcus exhaled deeply, almost surprised by the sense of calm washing over him. He took another sip of whiskey, savoring the newfound peace. But it seemed that irony wasn't done yet. As he sat down, savoring the end of this rather theatrical breakup, his phone chimed with a new LinkedIn message. Curious, he opened it. The sender? Rob. The message read, "Hi Marcus. I realize we've never met, but I've heard a lot about you. I'd like to talk about a possible job opportunity. I think you and I could have a lot to talk about." A laugh bubbled up, surprising even him. "Oh Rob," he muttered, still smiling. "If you survive your wife's mentorship tonight, we'll definitely see you tomorrow." He typed a quick response. "Sounds great. I hear you're excellent at making personal connections. Let's chat soon." As he hit send, Marcus leaned back, smiling to himself. It turned out, every so often, Karma did have a perfect sense of black humor and was only too happy to play along.